I'll fix the recording.
Okay. Thanks. You guys are welcome to come to the table, you know.
Well, please join.
This is always my spot when I'm
It's
in
a
here.
big table.
I sit here at all the morning meetings.
I know. It is your spot.
I like it. It's like in,
For another 30 days.
yeah, a month from today, isn't it?
It is. I just realized that as I was.
Yeah, I saw today was the 14th and I holy crap.
How many years has it been?
It'll be just about 5. I started in April of 2018.
Oh. Have fun.
Hey,
You're having
sorry
fun.
about that, I got
Hello.
Hey, Tony.
So,
Welcome.
You're welcome to sit closer to me. I just stuck it here.
Thank you. I try. Try my best.
For Tony to sign.
It's too cold. Yeah.
For you to
It
sign.
is way too cold.
Do you want a pen?
Yeah. I thought I had one in my phone.
I'll go grab another one. Great.
Do we have any members attending remotely?
No.
Sure. Okay.
This is it. The jury board only has 5 people on it.
Correct.
The comptroller and Mike Lauren, who both obviously will not be here. So we do have quorum. Just 3 of us, yeah. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started if you guys are ready. Tony Simon's life away over there. It is March 14th, 2023. It's currently 5:41 p.m. Calling to order the meeting of the Jamestown Urban Renewal Agency. This is our annual meeting. First item for business is the approval of the minutes for December 14th, 2023 meeting. We have a motion to approve.
2022?
2022, excuse me.
No. Sorry, that's my fault.
Make a motion?
Alright, so move second. Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes have been passed. Consideration approval of the financial reports.
John, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, so we're gonna just wait until the audit's complete. We have an issue with the GASB 86 right now, not being complete downstairs, so we'll have to wait until that's completely done. And then at that time, we'll produce the audited financials for you guys to approve.
Now, what is the
We'll
cost of
do
the
that.
GASB 86?
I'm not 100% sure, it's actually, it's done downstairs, but it's like a payroll reporting system that they, to give us a clean audit, they have to have that first. So we're all set with the audit other than that, but it should be done by the end of March, so.
We made the decision late yesterday to, rather than give you financial reports that were going to have to be altered, that we would wait until next month and just give you all the
Of
accurate
course,
ones.
the cash or everything like that won't change, it's actually just more about the Jura properties and how that is reflected in the balance sheet is really the only change that will happen, but. So we'll table those and then, the next meeting we'll have Drescher and Lucky will probably come in and present, so they usually like to come down and come in person, so at that time we'll do it all at once.
For those that don't know, our payroll is a combination of city, Board of Public Utilities, and all of the other entities that the city has underneath it, including Durham. So we combine them all
It gets a little
for
complicated.
reporting purposes. It's a little crazy. Okay, we have a resolution authorizing M&T Bank, Key Bank, and Evans Bank as depositories for the Jamestown Urban Renewal Agency. Questions on that? Do we have a motion?
So,
moved. Second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, moving along here. Fourth one on the list is the approval of the 2023 contract for services with the city of Jamestown in the amount of $417,000, along with office and parking space within the city, Jamestown City Municipal Building. This is our standard standard allocation from the city for permitting, code enforcement services, and economic development.
It went up $2,000 from last year.
So thank you to the city council.
You're welcome.
Alright, any questions? Do we have a motion to approve the contract for services with the city of Jamestown?
So,
So by Tony, second, Greg, all those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Alright. Fifth item on our list is the approval of the 2023 contract for services with the Jamestown Local Development Corporation, an amount not to exceed $140,000. I believe this is the same amount as last year.
Yep, it's been the same since, I believe, 2019.
It's good number.
I make a motion.
Okay, so move, second. Second by Tony, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, motion carried. Next one up is the approval of the 2023 contract for services with the Jamestown Renaissance Corporation, an amount not to exceed $15,000. And if I remember correctly, this is bookkeeping services for the Jamestown Renaissance Corporation.
Correct.
And it's increased from 3,000 from last year. We had 12,000 last year, so we increased our cost another $3,000.
I make a motion.
Any further? So
Keep the
moved.
moving.
Second. Second. Alright, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright. Number 7, the approval of the 2023 Jura budget. That was actually completed in the December meeting.
Yes, yeah.
So there's no need, that was already voted on in the December meeting.
Did include it, so you have it for your reference. And to answer any questions.
Number 8 is an authorizing the Jamestown Urban Renewal Agency and their staff members to attend various meetings and conferences relative to code enforcement and community development activities during 2023. Questions? Is this standard travel resolution?
So,
So moved. Second?
Second.
Second. So all those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Right,
Any
I'm going to
opposed?
Bermuda.
Wait a minute here.
I'm kidding.
That's where they're training.
Man, I wish.
That's the front page tomorrow.
It will be for sure.
Surdeck off to Bermuda.
Right. Any opposed? Hearing none, it's passed. Number 9 is the engagement letter for the 2022 audit with Dresser and Malecki LLP. For the record, that is also the city's auditor as well.
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And we will have them in at some point for the audit.
It should be, yeah, the April, we'll probably have another meeting for Jura in April, late April.
To get
And
done
we'll have
quick, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's-
we're supposed to be done on the 31st, but the GASB is the only reason that we're
Right.
so. And we'll, they'll get it done as soon as they have it, 86, so. They're planning on having it done by the end of April, so.
Great. Okay. We voted on that, right? Yes.
We did.
Okay.
Yes.
Number 10 is the appointment of Elliot Ramondo as legal counsel for Jura and authorizing reimbursement according to proposed 2023 fee schedule.
If we may,
Yes.
I think
Please.
possibly is, I'll let Ben Haskin speak as far as, you know, the reason I'm being appointed is,
I'm leaving the city. April 14th is my last day. It's been an absolute pleasure being the Jura Council for the years that I was, and pleasure working with all of you. You're in probably even abler hands now that I'm handing it off to Elliot.
that's too much of a compliment, I think, but yes, I will be, or I would like to take over as legal counsel for Jura. Going forward, I've been familiarizing myself with the Jura's procedures and will be speaking more on some items a little bit later.
Great. Wonderful, and thank you, Ben, for your service to Jura and to the city over the many years at this point.
5 years. We were just talking about that. Time flies when you're having fun.
And I'll note that the proposed rates,
Even a little faster when you're losing your mind.
I have a sixth sense of fun.
I'll note that the proposed rates, it was $85 an hour.
Yes, that's what I've asked for.
So if any of you have had a legal bill anytime soon, know that that's pretty low.
You also suggested, payment on an hourly basis, is that
Yes.
what you wanna do?
Oh,
Okay.
definitely.
I like that.
Love to take over your whole salary, but that would be looked on disfavorably.
Would be a pretty
Fair
hefty
enough.
raise, I mean.
Do we have a motion to approve the appointment of Mr. Armando as legal counsel for Jura? Approve the fee schedule. So moved by Tony, second by Greg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Number 11 is the appointment of the Jura Executive Secretary, Crystal Cervic.
Unless somebody else wants to do
That's okay. I move.
Okay. All those in favor?
For real.
Aye.
Should have nominated Tony. Okay, the next one, review of the Jura bylaws, mandatory training, acknowledgement of fiduciary responsibility, conflict of interest, and whistleblower policy. Are you guys gonna, one of you gonna talk about that?
I think, are you going to? I can if you are not prepared.
I am not, I've
Okay.
prepared for part of it, I do wanna
Okay.
chime in on it.
Great,
Um,
yeah, we'll just tag team it. So,
okay,
everyone has in their packets, Greg has already, I believe, signed
Mhm.
his, Tony, I think you may have signed yours already. I will
Sorry,
collect
maybe I
them
have
before we
changed.
leave.
Didn't tell me to change.
So these are standard acknowledgements that we require every year. We thought it might behoove us to just chat a little bit about them. And we'll talk a little bit about some mandatory training that we will be requiring. We aren't requiring it, it is a state requirement. And how to access that training. So there are webinars that are available. I believe Michaela is working on the dates, or unless you are.
I am,
Okay, so
I can speak
you
to
wanna
those.
speak to that?
but- So we are part of a state public authority, as authorized by New York State and the authority's budget office policy guidance. We're subject to sections 6.2F and section 6.2G and 6A of the public authorities law. So you may ask, well, what do those sections mean for me, Mr. Noon or Mr. Dulles as members of this board? Well, they require you to take training upon your appointment. Mr. Dulles has had that training before. You know, I know it was a while ago, but you haven't left the board. You know, the recommendation, I did speak with the state coordinator of this, Ashley Parslow, the recommendation would be to take it again, but nothing has changed since you last took the training. With that being said, the state offers periodic trainings. The ones scheduled for the month of April are at the most inconvenient times. And I will tell you, Mr. Noon, I've already received pushback from members of the JLTC board who have mentioned this too. April 5th, which is a Wednesday, and April 19th, which is a Wednesday from 9:30 to 11 a.m. I'll be working with the state to get more convenient times.
Okay.
Though if you can do Wednesday mornings, 9:30 to 11, I'm sure they would happily take that.
Where is it?
It's on your computer. It's a webinar.
Oh,
It's
I
by
can-
Zoom.
Yes.
I can do the, not the 5th, but what was the other?
April 19th.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the time again?
9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m.
That is really inconvenient times.
Yeah.
These are all, to my understanding, these are not pre-taped webinars, they're actually live webinars, live training.
It's okay, I can squeeze it in.
Live from Albany, New York.
I'm,
We'll get additional dates
Alright.
for folks.
A taped training would really be much more conducive to.
is it the same training for the JLDC?
Mhm.
Yes.
So one.
So you only
cover-
need to do it
Okay.
the one time,
Right,
and it will count for both boards,
right, okay.
unless you wanna do it twice. 4 hours of your life
I've been
you'll never get back.
trained 3 times for 3 different entities for the sexual harassment one. I can teach the course now.
Yeah.
Will you send me a link or?
Yes.
Congratulations.
I will help register you with them, and
Sorry. I'll figure it out.
we will proceed from there. And basically, the trainings will go through your responsibilities as a board member, when to step in, if you see something, say something, with your duties as a Jura board member.
and then we have additional forms for y'all to fill out.
Yep,
So, right,
they've
this
already
is
got them,
policy.
yep, I think they've already been working on their homework. You as well. I'm not to,
I filled them out for every single
thank
board.
you. I have instructions from our compliance manager. She's got the folder ready.
Yeah, take it back. Thank you.
Okay,
Awesome.
any questions on that? Alright, excellent. The next one is the approval of the creation of a Deputy Director of Housing and Community Development Management position. That is a mouthful. Please tell us
Yes, it
more.
is. So, as you are probably well aware, we have monumental task when it comes to our housing issues. We've been working over, and I'll speak to it a little bit more when we get to our presentation of accomplishments, but it's been an uphill battle, and we have some significant problems with housing, code enforcement, housing condition, really. We've been working over the past couple of years to really put together some strategies with other partners, being agencies like the Land Bank, CRIC, Code, the County Health Department, other agencies that do similar and aligned kind of work. So with all of those various moving parts, and some conversations that we've had with council members and you know, other agencies, I guess, and then internally, we talked about what the best path forward is, and we really, so the Department of Development is really all development, and I feel very strongly that it doesn't make sense to split it. We've heard that suggestion that we should have a Department of Housing Development and a Department of Economic Development. I don't feel that it should be separated. I think there should still be a Director of Development, not two directors that are working separately from each other and very possibly in silos. Economic development and housing and community development are very much intertwined. And so there still needs to be a really cohesive strategy and team around those, even though they seem like different things. They're not so different. So that's kind of where we internally discussed creating this position. So this is a similar position to our economic development coordinator position. It's a little different because it actually, the responsibilities are a little bit more than what that other position entails, because housing is so complex, and we really want to look at policies. We've been working on some ordinances, and I think that to attack housing and the issues that we have with housing, it has to be a very multi-pronged approach. And so this position will, frankly, free me up to do all of the things better, and not have to be so involved in the nitty-gritty, to be more of a manager versus the person doing the stuff. So that's kind of where this position came from. I know it's a long description, but I wanted to make sure that we captured really everything that we see this position being, and what they would do. So as far as budget, initially we did not budget for this position. In Ben's transition out and the changes there, and with the budget in general, we do have wiggle room to be able to pay the salary. Additionally, we have a couple of other positions that, one that hasn't been filled yet, and potentially another one that would not be filled if this one were to be hired, I guess. So the wiggle room to hire the position. We also have several more grants than what we've had in past years, which is great and awful at the same time. We've been very successful at getting new grants, but with new grants, there's more implementation involved, more administration involved, more compliance involved,
Or admin money.
and more admin money. So essentially, the new grants should offset the cost of another position. Questions?
So that would be a Jura employee?
It would be a juror employee. It'd be a management position, so it would not be, it would not fall under the union.
Would it be internal or a new hire?
There's potential for both.
Okay.
There is someone internal that,
Okay.
that I think would be a perfect fit.
And they would have to be replaced.
That is up for
Okay.
discussion, yeah. Yeah, without having the position approved, I don't wanna
Right.
put that person on the spot,
No.
yeah.
What other positions have you guys not hired or held off that we budgeted for?
We have not yet hired for the target code enforcement officer position.
Okay.
That is, not because we can't afford to, more so because we have a lot of irons in the fire, and, we need to make sure that we're able to bring them on and train them. And right now, code enforcement they're all doing their annual training. So until they're done with that, I don't wanna bring somebody new in and not have the capacity to train them one-on-one. So other than that, I mean, that will be, filled later on this year.
Or potentially not, if we go forward with this. Is that what you're saying?
That position is still needed due to
Yeah.
your code enforcement officer.
I see.
Yeah.
It's the position that the person.
That may be
That
vacated,
may be vacated, potentially.
should that, individual,
Choose that path.
right, and should we decide that that's the right, person for the job. And we still have to go through the process and
Understood.
resume and all of that, so.
Interviews.
Well, I think the need is there, definitely. Everybody, everybody does here for the housing and everything, so.
Yeah, I think it was part of, we had that discussion.
We have, yeah.
You know, about having either separate or another individual that takes over for just the housing part of the department. And as we mentioned, I've talked about it the time I've been here that, 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have the issues
Right.
as much as we have today with neighborhoods and housing. It's over the last couple of decades that it's kind of exploded, so to speak, and that you're spending more time doing that kind of stuff than maybe
Yeah.
full-blown development.
Yeah.
And that we need to have somebody else that oversees the whole housing. Like I said, back in the 1980s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we didn't have the neighborhood issues that we have
Right,
today.
and we had more code enforcement.
And we had more,
Right.
yeah.
So,
So
yeah, we've been doing
we had more problems
with
and
less.
less hands.
Yeah,
No, I agree, there's a definite need, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion is carried. Next one up is the sale of 614 Spring Street. This was a Jura property that we received from the tax foreclosure auction.
Correct.
Okay.
So I mentioned before the meeting, actually started to Greg, this is a property that there has been some interest in, by a neighboring, property owner. We have spoken to the assessor's office, we've gotten the fair market value for that property. We now have to wait for, the property owner to send us their bid. And
Which one's
Then we'll
614? Yellow?
it's the one, it was a fire, and so now it's gone. It's been demolished, it's a
Oh,
vacant
it's a
lot.
vacant.
It's right next to AME Zion,
Yeah,
Blackwell Chapel.
Oh, it's up the hill. It's
yes,
not the other
yes,
part. Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the 800 block
Okay.
that
this
you're
is the
thinking of.
six- Okay,
Mhm.
gotcha.
Yeah, so, there's no action to be taken on it tonight because they've not yet submitted their bid. But I wanted to bring it to your attention. I know it's something that, they have been asking about for a long time. Now that we've got the deeds from the tax auction, we'll be probably sending a lot of these, our board's way, for approval of sales as we, try to get rid of them as quickly as we can into hands of responsible property owners.
Will mow their grass.
Yes.
Just to be clear, the process is that bids will go out, bid letters go out to property owners in that area, and well, at least once we receive a bid,
Mhm.
and letters go out offering other
Notifying.
property owners to potentially bid on it as well, and that's how the city manages the vacant lot sale.
Mhm.
Would you take a bid lower than the fair market value?
I believe if we go through the bidding process, I think
Then
we can.
highest
Yes. Yeah.
Depends, right?
And I think that we have the ability also, even if it's the highest bid, to decline it based on what they wanna do with it.
Oh, okay.
So we wanna make sure that we have, some protection over how the land is being used,
Great.
right?
Do they have a plan for the lot now?
They do.
Okay, so we'll wait to, no action to be taken on this, we're just an
Correct,
update
yep.
for the board. Great. 2022 Jura accomplishments. Is that in our
Alright, so
packet?
it's in your packet.
Okay.
So this one is the
Website?
next one that you'll be looking for here. So we can run through this really quick. I didn't wanna inundate you with all of the things, but we'll just kinda hit some highlights. So this is information that, is required,
The other side is Jura, that's Jura.
Yeah.
There you go.
so this information is required, to be reported annually. So this is also available on our website. I actually added a couple things, but, so code enforcement, zoning total inspection, so, 1,125, for the 2022 year. And I should have printed out a copy of, the breakdown from last year. I can do that, if you're interested before you leave. That number, the number of total inspections, so we have 3 code enforcement officers, as you know. I don't know if you have the right,
I have the right one.
okay.
I'll print it.
Just keep going.
Okay. So I did the math on that earlier. That's 375 inspections per person,
Wow.
for the year. So, and that, takes out weekends, although frankly, they're on call 24/7. So, and it used to be that there might be 1, maybe 2 a week. It's more like 4, 5. And that might be on the weekend, it might be in the evening, it might be in the middle of the night. It might be for code enforcement, or it might be for, something like, a fire or, building collapse or something like that. So, they're busy, they're very, very busy. And, as we discussed, there's a huge need for code enforcement and, us to make some big moves and big changes, so. Permits issued, 327, so, that would be Larry Scalise. So if you, put that in terms of, workable days, I mean, that's more than 1 permit a day. And he has his busy, times of the year, so there will be days where he might do 6 or 7 in a day. But we had a good year. $25,848 in fees generated, and total value in permitted improvements is $2,331,561. So that's way up from the last 3 years, which is great. It's a sign of development coming back. Things are moving, things are happening again, which is exactly what we want to see.
How do they value the improvements?
So when they come in for their permit, they have to show Larry a plan of what it is that they're going to do. They have to show the estimates of what the costs are going to be,
So it's
and so that's all
driven
entered.
from the cost?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. And then this information is then shared with the assessor's office, so they are aware of improvements that are in the works, so they know when to, that kind of is their impetus to look at those properties, especially properties that are having, sort of large additions or whatever the case might be. A fence wouldn't trigger a reassessment, but a large addition of a building would. Oh, no, that's fine. Don't worry about it, Jake. So CDBG funds spent. So as you know, CDBG Community Development Block Grant funds. We are an entitlement community, and we receive an annual allocation of community development block grant funds each year. In the past 12 months, we deployed $1,118,413 and assisted 25 individual projects. CARES Act funding, funds spent. So this is part of the Code Blue shelters, which I'll talk a little bit more about. We have $194,000, a little over $194,000 allocated to those 2 shelters and bringing them online. We've spent physically $64,487 of that, and we will expend the rest. Actually, we probably are. We're getting very close. So this goes through December 31st of 2022. We're probably getting very close to the full 194. Home funds spent $214,538 and 5 properties that were assisted and rehabbed. And then additional state and federal grants that we received and are in various stages of implementation. $3,359,076. So that's a combination of a total of 10 separate awards. One of those in particular is the Chattaquin River Basin Activation Plan. We received in 2 separate grants almost $1.5 million from the state. So that's a little less than half of what these are. We also included in this number our comprehensive plan update, which will be taking a lot of our focus over the next couple of years. Working on putting together an RFP for that right now. Any others?
Tony Hawk, you got all the ones.
Yeah, so we finished the skate park, but that funding I think was
Gateway sign.
separate.
Gateway sign.
Yeah. Yeah, so the gateway
Sorry,
sign
really
is
tough
in the
one, yeah.
works. So
There's-
yeah, lots
there's a
of
couple more.
there's a lot. This number I think is an indicator that we are busy, and we will be continue to be very busy over the next year. And then some other grants received. I think that the Tony
That's-
Hawk and
that's what I
gateway
was
sign
talking
are
about.
included in that
The last one.
$689,000 number.
Yep, that is correct.
So, and then on the back, I thought that it was important to mention that Jura and JLDC have an agreement, which you may recall voting on, because JLDC staff is implementing or administering the American Rescue Plan funds, and JLDC staff is Jura staff. I thought it was important for you to see the progress. Tony, you probably have seen this a few times by now, but so on the back is the breakdown of where we are, what funds have been allocated, what funds have been dispersed, and sort of where we are at in the process of getting that money deployed. And so again, I think this was just through, no, this might be a little bit newer than that. But as you can see, there's still a long way to go. There's still lots of money to get deployed, and our team is very frantically working to get that money out to the community.
How long do we have to
To spend it.
yeah.
So we have until the end of 2024 of this year to have it all allocated, and then the end of 2026 to have it spent.
Okay.
So, hence the franticness in
They're
trying to
doing
get it
pretty
spent.
well. The checks keep coming.
Yeah,
Every month
We're getting down.
we're
Yeah, we're getting there.
whittling it away,
We
but
are,
it will.
yeah.
It'll take time,
It's
but
been
it's
so much
definitely.
fun.
Oh, it's been a blast.
I've been reading about it.
It's certainly getting funding direct to the community
Yeah.
for recovery purposes,
Yeah.
so we're glad to see
It's
it.
going where it needs to go,
Mhm.
and that is, I think that, you know, it will be fun over this next year, because now that we are really at the end of having it all allocated, now we can see what it's going to do, and we are going to start to be able to witness, and that, I think, we should be excited about that. And we will be, tracking all of the progress, and, in particular, the grantees who received funding for businesses. It's a commitment. It's a long-term relationship, and they have a lot of criteria they have to meet. They have a lot of hoops to jump through, and a lot of measurables will be able to start collecting. And so having those numbers and being able to really see jobs created and revenue streams created and new product lines, and you know, this is really when you get past the stress of it and you think about the good that it's doing, I think our focus will be able to start to shift over the next probably, I don't know, 4 months or so to, all right, what is this money going toward, and how is it really helping these businesses? So I'm kind of excited about that. All right, so I didn't wanna, again, inundate you with too much information, but I wanted to hit some highlights. So along with housing being an issue, we've seen a significant rise in homelessness. And this is an initiative that, as much as the mayor had to drag me kicking and screaming to take it on, and not because I didn't think that it was a great thing and that that there's a need for it, but because it was a little bit scary. It's not something that I know how to do, and so we helped establish 2 Code Blue shelters with our Community Development Block Grant COVID funding. That was that $194,400 that I mentioned earlier. So there are 2 shelters. There's one at Joy Fellowship Methodist Church on 7th Street. And then the second one is MHA, the Mental Health Association, is administering at their location at the Gateway Center down on Water Street. So I was got to take a tour of each, but I only took pictures for some reason of the one at MHA. It's really actually a wonderful space. It's very warm, very inviting, and they have seen, in fact, I have the numbers, this will blow your mind. They have had, and this is just at the Gateway Center's location, that MHA is overseeing. They have had, they've served 151 different individuals since the end of November. That's 728 unique visits, so 728 different times that people have stayed there. Some of those are repeats, of course. 704 actual stays. So the difference between visits and stays is they may have come earlier in the evening and decided to leave for whatever reason. There are a lot of rules to being able to stay in these facilities. If they left for any reason, they were not allowed to come back in that same night. So the same is true for the Joy Fellowship location as well. But I thought those numbers were staggering, and I think that just 151 different people that have gone and stayed at MHA, that's not the same as Joy Fellowship. Now, there may be some crossover between the two, but that's just here, and that doesn't include the people that are being referred to the motels that are still doing Code Blue, and the Mission, and any that are going somewhere else in the county, like Dunkirk or wherever else they may be taken to. So I think that just, to me, is a staggering number of people who are experiencing homelessness in our community. So I am rather proud of this, and proud of the work that our team did to get this up and running in a very, very quick turnaround time, and the partnerships and relationships that we've built with not only the two facilities, but it really was a team effort with various county agencies and other service provider agencies. So, the community stepped up in a really big way. We are proud that we were able to provide the seed funding to get them open, and the hope is that they will continue to be Code Blue shelters in the future. They've already started to have those conversations with the county. I know that they are both very interested in being able to continue providing those services, and have started to talk about and consider becoming a more long-term shelter. So whether or not that works out, that's a whole other ballgame. From being an emergency shelter to an actual shelter, but there's certainly a huge need. Anything you want to add?
No, I just appreciate all that work. Obviously it was quite difficult to figure out what we as the city were going to be able to do, so to be able to help open those up and see that the need is actually was there. I do want to point out the fact that although we still have seen, for example, fires in abandoned homes, we've actually seen less than we would normally see in a winter time frame. So that was one of the goals, was to have locations where individuals can go, so that we weren't seeing more break-ins and more fires in abandoned buildings and abandoned homes. So that did accomplish a portion of it.
That's great.
It's all connected. So priorities for 2023. We, as you probably know, we have a 5-year consolidated plan, and then a subsequent annual action plan that we do every year for HUD, and to maintain our HUD funding. So we are in year 3 of our 5-year consolidated plan, and we are evaluating and looking at how all of those programs have been going, and then we have opportunity with our annual action plan to pivot if we need to. But so far, we've seen a lot of good success with our anti-blight initiatives, hands-on neighborhoods, the amnesty days that we've had. Those were a huge hit, and we already have requests for more, of course. It's great, people want to get rid of their garbage, so that's exactly what we want. We are in the process of a conversion from MyGov, which is the current code enforcement system that we use, to GovPilot, which will be a citywide platform. So we're I think in the home stretch, and really working on getting all of that data converted so that we can start using that new system, which we are excited about. It'll be a bit of a lift at first, but it's going to be so worth it. The capabilities are already, the very little that we've been able to use it so far, it'll be a game changer for us. It'll definitely make it easier for our code enforcement officers in the field to be able to put notes into the system, to take pictures, to tag locations. It'll just be a much more efficient process for them, and then overall with all of the other capabilities that it has. So we want to very soon complete development and hopefully adopt our nuisance, vacant property and rental, inspection ordinances. So those are top priority over the next couple of months. Continuing to try to secure developers for our downtown anchor buildings, and other buildings, not just specifically downtown, but we have a number of different buildings that are somewhere in the courtship with developers. So just continuing to work with those developers, helping write grant applications, like the New York Restore New York grant, and just, you know, trying to get those buildings redeveloped and getting some good developers in them. Coordinating the environmental cleanup of the Crawford Furniture fire site. We've been working very closely with the EPA for a couple of years now, even prior to the fire. So we'll continue to coordinate with them and hold the property owner accountable. Continuing to develop and establish standard operating procedures for all of our programs. This has been ongoing since I came into this position. It was discovered that that was not something that we had, and so it's been a priority of mine to make sure that we have a handbook. I was not, from my own personal experience, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. I would love for somebody to be able to come and step into this role and be able to have at least a handbook that says, these are all the things, these are all the programs, these are all the deadlines, this is how you do, where to find the information. So, and it's not just for me, it's for every position, every role, every different program. So those are all in process all the time, but that's again a priority to get the department to a place where we can just be automated, right? It should be able to, anybody should be able to step in and at least have that direction. Initiate the Safe Streets Planning Grant, so waiting to hear more. We anticipate that our principal planner, Ellen Cheadle, will be very hands-on with that initiative. Very excited about it. Something that is important to us, and implementing our complete streets, and then the newer adopted Vision Zero commitment. So making our streets safer. We have what's called Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Technical Assistance Grant from FEMA. So we are working through that with them right now. We'll complete that in the next few months, and that will help us establish what's called a resiliency planning framework. So as we start our comprehensive planning process and our zoning code update, we're also looking at resiliency planning from a sustainability, a green infrastructure, a climate change, a hazard mitigation, kind of all of the different things that make a community resilient. So they're working with us to establish what that framework should look like. And then of course, initiating the comprehensive plan and zoning code update. We anticipate that will be about a 2-year process from start to finish once we select a consultant. So successfully begin implementation of the 19A program. So we're in the works of kind of finalizing all of those pieces and getting that in place. And we did get the deeds from the county, so we are getting ready to rock and roll on that. Exciting opportunity to create new homeowners, again, to really have another tool to combat our housing issues. Implement JURA and city-owned property redevelopment strategy. So that is a very general way of I guess, looking at all of those properties that we picked up from the auction, any new properties that we pick up from the next auction, the 19A strategy, just really holistically looking at what we should be doing, what parcels are available for what, and how to and who to sell those properties to, and you know, any properties that are not currently that are sitting vacant or adding blight to the community, what do we do with those? So that is something that we work on all the time, and that we, over, I think this next year, we'll really start to see some big changes. Implement Healthy Homes Production Grant with the county, so we were awarded this grant in partnership with the county health department and their lead prevention program, but this is everything but lead. So they have a lead program that we also will be able to layer with this, but this looks at things like radon, mold, air quality, all of the other things that make a home not healthy. Complete the deployment of the American Rescue Plan funds, and then again, begin tracking and measuring those outcomes, and then initiate the Chattacoin River Basin Activation Project. So that is likely to get started quickly. In fact, we'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow night at the JLDC meeting. We've got some obstacles that we'll get removing from the river basin, and some riverbank stabilization, and then we'll start working on the fun stuff, and that's design of the basin area, looking at some gardens, a welcome center, some tiered seating that will be built right into the landscape. So that's that area behind Comedy Center Park.
Okay, alright.
So activating that whole area, and what we discovered in getting ready to for this project is that the river is navigable from the lake all the way down to the basin. So also looking at some navigation aids, so buoys, lights, that kind of thing, and then docks, kayak launch. So
What obstacles would be?
there are
The bridge.
100-and-some-year-old logs that are in the basin itself.
Like pilings driven down, or just?
They are lumber from way back
Oh,
when
really?
we were,
Okay.
yeah.
It's actually the perfect photo over there, the one pushing.
Oh, yeah, the one where you can see the steam coming out of the factory. So yeah, I mean, because of the
bridge is
furniture
kinda low,
industry,
too.
Right.
there were, logs that fell in all the time. So there's quite a few. I want to say 100-ish. There's one really big one that we are hoping that we can preserve and do some kind of
It's
historic
amazing, it's still
interpretive
there.
signage.
It
Oh
hasn't
yeah.
disintegrated.
No, but the fear is that once we pull it out,
It's gonna-
it
It'll
will
just crumble.
disintegrate. So they're gonna do the majority of them, and they may leave that one because it's buried in the sediment right now, and we don't want to disturb that. You need special permits to do that anyway. You'll hear lots about this tomorrow.
Can't wait.
Yeah. You're like, I already heard about this. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I think the river, it's all about the river and our economic development strategy, activating our waterfront in ways that we never probably dreamed of, not in my younger lifetime. You didn't go to the river. I grew up in Faulkner, and I barely knew there was a river. So just really changing our relationship with the river and activating it.
That's
I
great.
think
When I was a
it's-
kid, we took a boat, I can't remember how far we got down there. It's a long time.
Yeah.
Jones and Gifford Bridge is the hardest obstacle, because it's a low bridge.
Yeah,
That's
we
probably the
went
hardest
far,
obstacle
but it was
we've
a small boat.
yeah.
I've kayaked from the dam all the way down to Faulkner. Had to get out a couple of times to go over bridges or two, but it's doable.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the kayaking from the dam up to the
Yeah,
the
that's really
lake,
easy.
So when
And
that's
it's
done,
beautiful.
somebody can bring their boat in and dock and
Yeah.
walk
Go downtown
down.
Jamestown.
yeah.
for a little
And
bit.
it'll be small watercraft,
Right,
obviously, but yeah, they'll be able to come down and dock. And
That's
we're
excellent.
also looking at, in a later phase, getting a water taxi and having that go from like the Harbor Hotel and down, drop people off,
Single
Wow.
story.
go out on the town and then get back on the water taxi and
Single
go back.
story outboard motors can make it down easily.
Yes, we were looking at 16-foot.
That is the ideal boat to get down there.
Yeah.
So
So, I will stop talking. I did include a copy, and Tony, I know you've seen this a few times. This is I didn't want to change it because I wanted it to be true to what, was presented, but I wanted to be able to show, the amount of work that went into, developing the American Rescue Plan programs and, all of the consideration that was put into developing criteria and all of the things that not only our team, had to consider, but that council had to consider, and, just the extreme amount of work, that a lot of people did over the last year, to get these programs, approved, developed, and now being deployed. We more than doubled the programs that our department administers on an annual basis. I mean, it's way more than doubled. It's probably, I don't know, I'd have to do the math, but, I'm very proud of my team and the work that they've done over this last year and the extreme amount, of pressure they've been under and that they have absolutely, in my opinion, risen to the challenge. And, I just wanna say that.
I can only imagine, that's excellent, all the work you've all done and with everything.
It's definitely been a big lift, but, support from the mayor and his department and, for better or worse, council. I mean, we may not always agree on everything, but at the end of the day, we're at the finish line and I think that we have programs that we can all be proud of. So, that's it, I'll stop talking.
A lot of great funding went out, that's for sure. A lot of excellent programs to help businesses.
And homeowners,
A lot.
And homeowners.
Absolutely.
yeah. Our roof program, $2 million in roofs that are going to be done across the city. That's a lot of roofs, it's like 130 roofs. The senior citizen program that helped with improvements to senior homes. My department did not administer that one, but we are going to be administering the, property improvement incentive program, here shortly, so. And then our partnership with the land bank, demolitions, that will be fast and furious. So
Good.
we'll start to see some demolitions coming. Now we've got the funding and we've got a plan that is near ready to go, so they're ready to lock and load. So, good
Excellent.
stuff.
Any further questions for Crystal? All right, is there any other business to come before this board?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
We have no executive session, so I'll just take a motion to adjourn. So move, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, what do we do here?
You owe us conflict.
Thank you for your
I
time.
signed late.
Whistleblower.
I know we were waiting.
Conflict, you always, right?
Yeah, I'll take them, every single one that you sign. I'll take them all.
Elliot,
Yeah,
give
the
me my
acknowledgement of.
contact information, or can
It's
you
on
get
the
it from
emails,
Crystal?
isn't it?
What's that?
Crystal, it's on the emails, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then,